It's the middle of the night. You're standing on the bridge of a ship in the middle of the ocean, when suddenly you spot what looks like the white cliffs of Dover coming towards you. This was the experience for those on the bridge of the ocean liner QE2 in 1995 when the ship was hit by a massive wave estimated to be 90 feet, or around 29 meters tall. The ship was turned into the wave, which was described by Commodore Ron Warwick as looking like the white cliffs of Dover coming towards them. The QE2 dipped down into the trough before the wave crashed over the bow, with the water level reaching over the bridge windows, and the wave took the forward whistle mast away with it. Despite the height of the water, the ship fared very well in the encounter. And remarkably, the majority of the passengers slept through the entire event, only finding out about their lucky escape the next day, when they woke up to find a certificate under the door congratulating them for surviving the ordeal. And QE2 isn't the only ship to have battled such intense waves. I'm maritime history author and lecturer Chris Frame, and thanks for joining me. Rogue wave is a term used to describe a wave which is at least 2 times higher than the waves around it. So it's not just a big wave, it's got to be considerably bigger than the waves around it to be considered rogue. There have been multiple instances of ships being hit by rogue waves over the decades, but did you know that the definition and recording of rogue waves only began in a coordinated official capacity in 1995? Prior to this, there was no specific classification for these massive waves. By their very nature, rogue waves are unpredictable. They can come from directions other than what would be expected by the prevailing wind and waves, or they can be caused by storms and by swells passing through each other. The good news is, rogue waves break out at sea, and generally don't last for very long, perhaps a few minutes, so you are unlikely to see one on your next cruise. But if a ship happens to be in its path when a wave is formed, well, then things can get dangerous. Even though the exact definition of a rogue wave has only existed for the last few decades, giant and unexpected waves have long been described by sailors. Though for many years these stories were thought to be just that, stories. These days, scientists have a better understanding of the existence of these waves, and some of these historic reports are now believed to have been caused by rogue waves. For example, in 1942, whilst undertaking trooping duties, RMS Queen Mary was hit by a wave estimated to be around 75 feet or 22.8 meters tall. Some reports even put this wave as high as 30 meters or 98 feet. During the encounter, Queen Mary took on a 52-degree list, but did manage to right itself and was able to sail back to the harbour. With an estimated 16,000 people on board at the time, this could have been a very different story. Yes, 16,000 people. If you want to find out why Queen Mary was so overladen, check out my video about the Cunard Queens at War. Other historic examples of ships being struck by enormous waves include the Norddeutsche Lloyd liner Kronprinz Wilhelm, which was struck head-on by a huge wave on its maiden voyage in 1901. This video is brought to you by me and my new book, The Evolution of the Passenger Ship. In The Evolution of the Passenger Ship, we've brought years of research together to create a book that takes you on a journey from the earliest sailing ships right the way through to the modern behemoths that we see today. The Evolution of the Passenger Ship is available at all good bookshops, and if you buy a copy, you help us by supporting the channel. Thanks so much, and now back to the video. You can also look to Cunard's Lusitania, which sustained damage in 1910 when the bridge windows were smashed by the impact of a wave, as the forecastle and bridge were both pushed lower a bit. In 1966, 2 passengers and a crew member were tragically killed after the Italia Line's Michelangelo was struck by a huge wave, causing significant damage to the forward part of the ship's superstructure. And in 2001, the cruise ship Bremen suffered damage when a rogue wave hit the ship. The ship lost power, leaving it stranded in the middle of very rough weather. Luckily, the crew were able to restart the engines, though it was not without some difficulty. That same year, the cruise ship Caledonian Star took damage to its navigational and communication equipment when the bridge was flooded by a rogue wave. And NCL's Norwegian Dawn was also struck by a series of large waves in 2005, while in 2007, Holland America's Prinsendam was struck by a large wave. More recently, in November 2022, The Viking Polaris was hit by a giant wave whilst on an Antarctic cruise, causing the tragic death of one of the passengers and injuring several others. Yet despite these examples, ships are designed to withstand wild weather and wild seas, but a rogue wave can still be extremely dangerous, especially for smaller vessels. If a wave cannot be avoided, then the officers will try and turn the ship's bow into the wave rather than allowing the wave to hit the ship's side on, which would be considerably more dangerous, as we saw with the RMS Queen Mary. In the case of QE2 in 1995, this is exactly what they did. The QE2 dipped down into the trough before the wave crashed over the bow, with the water level reaching over the bridge windows. Though rogue waves can come from anywhere, there are certain areas where they are more common. These days, cruise ships avoid travelling through these more notorious areas in an attempt to keep the passage smooth for passengers. Now, before you go cancelling your cruise, rest assured that the relatively low number of incidents of rogue waves mean that the likelihood of encountering one on your next cruise is very low. So don't let movies like The Poseidon Adventure put you off booking your next cruise. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you found this video about rogue waves interesting. If you did, please don't forget to give it a like, or if you enjoy this kind of content and are interested in ship history, please consider subscribing. It'd be great to have you on board. As always, a huge thank you to Rob Henderson for the fantastic pictures in the Henderson and Cremer collection, and also a thank you to Mike Brady from Oceanliner Designs for his support in this video, with the animations that have been used of Queen Mary and Lusitania. Thanks once again, and until next time, I hope to see you on board.